What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Tech MLB DFS Wise stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and I am joined once again by the GOAT, the true OG, who y'all know as Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds. Paulie, round 2 of the day. What's happening?
What's happening, baby?
Snipers in the rafters once again in NBA. We've got the Utah Jazz deciding not to play their guys, and we talked about it. That's why we're glad that we've got MLB here at the same time. Because, listen, we love NBA. It's probably our best DFS sport overall. But at this point in the season, even without the pandemic, at this point in the season when it's a slate, it always gets kind of wacky. So it's always nice to have MLB to kind of rely on going full force. And then once the playoffs come back, or once the playoffs come, that's when NBA gets back to the dirty. So looking forward to that. Dollar for a dollar. Shout out to those of you in the chat. Artful Dodger says, I need help. Well, you came to the right place. JP Rose, what's good, man? Artful Dodger says he needs some good GPP stacks for it today. I got Joey in there calling out the Rangers. We'll get to that, but I actually agree with you, Joe. Global Light Park going to open up their roof, man. I think it's the first time that we're going to see them open up their roof, so we'll get an idea of how that park plays when the roof is open. But anyway, curious to hear what kind of stuff that you're on today, or what you think the plays are. So we'll start off with pitching. It's a weird slate, 9 games. We have like some decent pitchers, but one that stands above the rest. The problem is a lot of the bats that I think we're going to like, or at least I like, are pretty expensive, so it's hard to kind of get all the way up to the top. But with that said, talk to me. What do you think for pitchers?
I think it's pretty ugly. I honestly don't even really like Patrick Corbin, so I ain't gonna bother even trying to get him. He definitely has the highest ceiling on the slate, but I think the Mets hit him today, so I don't plan to use him. I like expensive bats too, so I ain't gonna have that kind of dough. Kyle Gibson, I think will be very popular. I understand why people want to use him. I may, if I go spend money on pitching, he'd probably be the highest I would use. Seattle's been good hitting the ball, though, so I'm not in love with that. But, if I'm building a team and backing into pitchers and I do have that much money, I'll throw him in there. Dallas Keuchel is actually my favorite pitcher on the slate. He throws junk, and the Tigers really don't hit that well at all. And I don't think he'll rack up strikeouts, but I think he'll coast through 6-7 innings, couple strikeouts, and at 7-8 give you a pretty solid score. I like Dustin May. San Diego is hot, but you just saw them, did well. That's, normally not a good thing, but I just think he's going to go under-owned, and, his strikeout upside, likelihood of being in position for a win, all that, and lack of other options make him a guy I'm interested in. Steve Matz, I was really going to ask you your thoughts. I think he's viable, but extremely risky. And I'm considering using Logan Webb against Houston. I, didn't really mind the profiles. Houston is missing Springer. And, again, lack of options just kind of forced you into, having to make cheap decisions on punt pitchers, which, I'm just kind of loading up on bats and going to battle that way. So there's not much that I'm really into. Logan Webb, I think you should take shots on Robbie Ray in GPPs. Like, nobody's going to use him. Most people are going to attack him, including me. But if you're building a lot of teams, he could shock the world like he normally does when he's low-owned in these kind of situations. Steve Matz is a maybe. Dustin May, Dallas Keuchel, Kyle Gibson. That's kind of where I'm living.
Yeah, I don't have too different of a take. I think I have like 5 pitchers in my pool overall, and most of those guys you had named. I do have Corbin in the pool. Not a guy that I'm going to get a lot of. He's the guy that I think if you're playing cash games, you should try to find a way to get him in. He is the best actual pitcher we have on the slate right now. But in tournaments, I'm kind of
Yep.
with you, Paulie. I'm going underweight. I'll have some, but I'm underweight. Number one, he makes it too difficult for me to get the bats I want, and I don't really have any cheap pitchers that I really like to pair with him. So I'm not looking to play too much Corbin. I do think that McCullers and Gibson are going to be pretty popular, but they are probably the two guys I'll have the most of, with that Dallas Keuchel a close third. I don't trust any of these guys. I really don't like any of them. But it's kind of like picking the lesser. It's kind of like the presidential election. I don't really like any of them, but you're just going to pick the lesser of whatever's the evil, or at least what you think that is. So in my situation, that's kind of the route that I'm going to be going for the mid tier. Dustin May, you can add to that list. He's the fifth guy. And again, I really don't like taking a guy who just did well against this team. His last start, he just saw the Padres, just struck out 8 of them. It's rare that you see, a team come out here and do something like this. But we're just, we're pretty ugly for. So the best pitcher that I can afford without sacrificing on my bats, that's the route that I'm going to go, because there's a good chance that none of the guys do what they're supposed to do. There were a couple of guys that were interesting from a pricing perspective on FanDuel, like Sean Manaea. Is just like hasn't been great, but he's like 6'4" on FanDuel, just like weird. I'm not even doing it, to be flat honest. I'm going to stick with the guys that my research pointed me to, and I'm just going to rock it like that. But I did notice there were a couple guys that I was like, that's kind of crazy. But me personally, those are the 5 pitchers that'll be in my pool with, again, Keuchel. I'm sorry, with really the top 3 being Keuchel, Gibson, and fucking McCullers, who, again, none of which makes me comfortable. But that's the kind of slate we're at, and we have a lot of good bats because we don't have a ton of great pitching. So with that said, Paulie, talk to me about some of the stacks you're looking to get tonight.
So I really like the Angels against Sean Manaea. They're just kind of built to crush lefty pitching. Manaea's a soft tosser, and they all just crucialize that shit. So really like the Angels, on top of which Mike Trout is red fucking hot. There might be one player in baseball that's hotter than him, and that's Charlie Blackmon. And they get Robbie Ray. Charlie Blackmon has owned them. Story's owned them. Arenado's owned them. Like, Matt Kemp is on this guy. This guy sucks. If he's not getting bombed, he's walking dudes. I don't know, it's a far cry from like 6 years ago when he had that one good season. And you just suffer using him every single time. So he'll probably do well today. But, I mean, I'm into the Rockies stack. I'm into the Rays stack. But my favorite stack is actually Tampa Bay. In Boston, Hitters Park, profiling really well against this opener. And then the guy that they got coming in is really no better. And, Meadows, Lau, Diaz, Choi, even like Kiermaier at the bottom, or this Susugo guy, who I don't know much about, but he's cheap. Going to be really low owned, and I think they can go off against this Boston bullpen game, and they really haven't yet, so they're kind of due for that. Who else did I like? I like Texas as well. This Justin Dunn kid, I don't think he saw above Double-A or maybe even Single-A, and he's done all right, but he's given up 2 homers a game. They're opening the roof. Some of these Rangers bats do seem to have been kind of waking up. Gallo, Calhoun, Solak. Shin-Soo Chu's actually had a good bat all season. Ronette Odor. Now that you tell me the roof's open, it makes it even more appealing. What else? The Mets, I think Corbin's going to be popular. I think the Mets bats offer leverage. And, when Corbin gets hit, it's usually with the long ball, and the Mets just have a really deep lineup and a couple lefty mashers like J.D. Davis, Alonso, and Michael Conforto has actually owned Patrick Corbin. So I like them. I think you could take a stab at Minnesota. A lot of bats to like on this slate. I'm not going to drown you with all of them. Oh, but I do want to talk about the Dodgers. They're getting Perdomo as the opener, and then Cal Quantrill, who I actually do respect as like an up-and-coming prospect. But the damage could be done by the time they get to him. Perdomo never really amounted to much. sinker ball pitcher. The Dodgers crucialize the sinker, and Cal Quantrill's kind of the same kind of guy. So we're gonna see, Muncy, Bellinger, Jock Peterson, Mookie Betts, all the big bats. And there's a couple cheapies at the bottom of the lineup too to make it work if you need to. Matt Beatty or Edwin Rios, who both Edwin Rios has massive power, and Beatty's like a good average hitter. If I had to rank it, I would say Angels, Tampa Bay, Dodgers, my top three, with Coors interest, and probably the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, man. I think I wrote up like 5 teams in the article. I'll talk about a couple of them. One of them being the Rangers. That's definitely a team that I'm gonna grab. There's 3 I'll talk about that are obvious. The first 2 are obvious. Coors, right? Really good spot for Coors. You got winds blowing out, good weather. Neither of these pitchers have looked good to start the year. John Gray's velocity is down almost 3 miles an hour. So we can go on and on. I prefer the D-backs. That's because I think the D-backs offense overall is just a better team. But this is obviously a fine spot for the Rockies. I do agree that if you are going to fade Coors, the pitching is so ugly that at least on DraftKings, why not take a shot on one of these pitchers if you're planning on fading it anyway? Because they're cheap. Ray is 6.3 on DraftKings. Gray is 7K on DraftKings. So if you are going to fade, and Robbie Ray, I agree, is the one that I would probably roll with. I really don't like picking on the D-backs. Even if I'm not attacking them or fading them or whatever, I still don't like picking on them. So if I were to pick one, it'd be Ray. I'm going to be playing the Coors bats. I prefer the D-back side. And then the Rangers is the other team. I agree with a lot of what you said, man. This kid Dunn has got really good minor league numbers, but last year was his first taste of the majors, and it went pretty much how this year's gone. He walked a ridiculous amount of people. There was actually a YouTube thing that Trevor Bauer did on him, just a little of his upbringings. He's from New York. The Mets drafted him, all this stuff. He was part of the Edwin Diaz deal when they shipped him off out there. But, in the majors, he's looked lost. He's looked really lost. His walk rates this year and last year, I mean, we're talking about like 6 starts combined, but still, we're still spanning across 2 seasons, and he's having a very difficult time throwing strikes. So I'm with the Rangers, man. We got a lot of left-handed power here. They're going to open up the roof. I think we'll see this be a little bit more hitter-friendly when that roof is open. We have humidity. We've got 90-something degree temperatures. So those are the 3 teams I'll discuss. The other guys I have in the article, a couple of the teams that I'm willing to take a shot at, for those of you who subscribe to wisetakeCom. I see Joey was in the chat talking up the Rays as well. I'm totally fine with them in a small park in Boston. Basically a bullpen game from the Red Sox. The only thing is, in the past, I've gotten a little caught up with the bullpen games because sometimes they keep the hitters off balance, even if it's a collection of shit. Sometimes they can keep it off balance. That's one of the main reasons that I didn't go overboard on the Rays. But it's a phenomenal spot, man. Anytime you get the Rays on the road in a hitter's park, it's something worth taking advantage of. They were fucking getting destroyed by Paxton yesterday. But eventually hit a 3-run bomb, tied up the game, and that's just what the Rays are. They're a very scrappy team. They'll never really go away, and now you have an opportunity to take them in a smaller park. I totally understand the logic and wanted to grab some exposure to them, as the French would say. Let's see what other questions we got here. I think Joey's been in there just doing dirties. I mean, Joey's in there. Our boy Anthony Valencia, appreciate it, man. Giving me the birthday wishes. Appreciate you. See if I get that birthday luck, son. Joey Tiger Stack plus the Chalky Rockies. That's from Joey Joe. Looking at the Tiger Stack. One thing I'll say is I think there's like 10 to 14 mile an hour winds blowing in from left field. That was that was honestly one of the reasons that I was like, yeah, sure, why not, Keuchel? I saw the winds. I was like, yeah, why not? I guess I'm not gonna ask you your thoughts on that because you were just talked about how Keuchel's your favorite pitcher.
Yeah. Where's the Tigers lineup?
The Tigers.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so Jacoby Jones is back. That's nice. His lineup is horrific, but if it helps you get forward with a good pitcher, go for it. They do have some power, but Keuchel don't give up home runs. I think you're fishing without a pole there. But
yeah, that's definitely one concern if you are looking to stack the Tigers. Keuchel's ground ball rates over his entire career have been like excellent. Really, really. I mean, you can't, not even just good. We're talking about a guy that's averaging like around 60% ground balls over his career, and he's been here for a while. He's never been known as a massive strikeout dude, but that's definitely one of the downsides of attacking Keuchel. That's the reason I personally decided to roll with Keuchel over the Tiger stack, is because I've attacked Keuchel a lot over the last I don't know how many years, because I don't believe, we look at the metrics. Oh, he gives apart contact. Oh, he's not striking guys out. But the dude is just a fucking ground ball machine, man. And then you're gonna throw in the winds blowing in from left field. There were just too many variables for me. But I understand it. Like Paulie said, if it's gonna help you get like say a core stack with a good pitcher like Corbin, and that makes you feel comfortable, and I understand. Joey says Tigers lead the league in WOBA and ISO versus lefties this year. That may be true. However, keep in mind that I know a lot of that was Steven Brault. They saw him like 2 or 3 times already. They kept on using Steven Brault in relief a couple times. He was an opener for one game. He was a reliever another game. I do like to look at that and ride the trends. So shout out to Joey for doing his due diligence and doing a little bit of research. Like a toy guy. Tony A, what's your best low own GPP stack?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa. Mine's probably the Rangers. I'm assuming the Rangers are going to be low because, really, I think everybody's going to be low outside of cores, right? Because this just seems like a classic, everybody find a way to get cores in your lineup type of night. This would just seem, their total is significantly, like, way above everyone else's.
Yeah, the pitching's cheap. Looking at ownership, it looks like Tampa, the Diamondbacks going to be really popular. Right. Cores, and then I'm seeing some Nationals. Some Detroit. I guess people have that same idea. That's it, though, man.
I'm with it.
The Oakland A's are taking on Julio, Duckadick, Tehran, but they don't really have a ton of lefties, but this is an awesome Matt Olson spot.
A phenomenal Matt Olson spot. Tehran is a guy I never liked, and I'm a Met fan, so part of me is, he's been on the Braves for a long time, but I really, really thought really hard about attacking him. The only reason I didn't is because of the fact, like you said, the Aces don't have a lot of lefties, and this is a guy that, his whole career he's been decent against righties. I think that Tehran sucks a little bit more this year, and we'll see that he's going to suck a little bit more. But between the park being big, it's not that I didn't like them. It's just that there were other offenses that ranked out better. But I agree with that. Matt Olson, regardless of anything, Matt Olson is in a phenomenal spot, and he's red fucking hot, man. He's just hitting dingers like it's his job, but I guess it is his job. So he's doing his fucking job. Brian Campbell, Dunn had a good. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Series, they're like 20-1.
No shit. Oakland.
Yeah, they got the best baseball right now. Like they got these young stud pitchers coming up, a deep lineup. Like they're going to be good in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Brian Campbell says Dunn had a good start against the Angels. Besides the long ball to Trout and Pujols. Maybe in a real baseball standards it was decent, but from a fantasy standpoint, the DFS numbers that we're looking for weren't there. His strikeouts are still pretty low in general, unless I'm missing something. But Dunn's numbers were pretty horrific when we were looking at them earlier.
So he's like a year away probably from getting better, figuring things out.
Yeah. If he figures out the control issue, which that was a big issue he had initially, I think, when he first got drafted, his first stints. I only know this because, like I said, he did a YouTube thing with Trevor Bauer, and I guess when he gets nervous, that seems to be what it is. When he gets nervous, he has control issues. So once he stops getting nervous, maybe we see a little bit of a different version. Artful Dodger says Brandon Lau or Scope for Jepepez.
What was the question?
Brandon Lau or
Brandon
Scope.
Scope. He took the one Tiger bat. Is that what you're talking about, Jonathan Scope? Yeah, he was the one Tiger bat that profiled well for me. But I like Keuchel and using
the race
not using the Tiger bat. But Scope, I will say, was the one guy that profiled well out of that lineup.
Oh, yeah. Alex Diaz, how about a Milwaukee stack?
I think this kid Dobnak's actually pretty good. Not really DFS good. He's not going to strike out many guys, so but the Milwaukee lineup is really ugly right now. I don't know. Like, I do think they're waking up. Yelich hit the inside the park home run or triple, and then a real home run. And Hayura seems to be all right, but that's like all that they got going for them right now. And they got one of the lowest totals out there. Not very interested.
Yep, I agree. Milwaukee is going to torment me all season. I think I tried to stack them against Desclafani. They completely shit the bed. Then I went heavy on Sonny Gray. They tagged him up. It's gonna be like that. It's gonna be like that with the Brewers this season. But I saw what Paulie saw. I just saw, and what Joey saw. I see Joey in the chat talking about how he's got Dobnak in some teams. I personally didn't want to go that far because, like Paulie said, he just didn't grade out as a great DFS pitcher. But he did grade out as a decent actual pitcher for regular baseball standards, so he's just not a guy that I'm dying to attack. I'm fine with grabbing Christian Yelich and these guys. The Brewers are going to, like some of these dudes are performing way below their expectations, so they're going to turn it around at some point. Maybe they're about to do it now, but I'd rather wait until I get a pitcher that I really think is terrible to be the first one. Yeah. Because when I take a halfway decent pitcher against them, I regret it deeply later that night. Yeah.
If they were facing Julio
Teheran, it'd be forget about it. Forget about it. This show would be real. The show would be over. We would just open a show and say, "Stack the Brewers. We gotta go," and that would be the end of the show. I appreciate those of you who have hit the like button. If you haven't already hit it, please smash that like button. Really goes a long way. Helps us out. Allows us to continue to do dirties on the YouTube and the Twitch nations. I guess we'll do some home run calls, Paulie. Let's do some Dong Watch. Who's your first pick?
Austin Meadows.
I'm going to go with one player that's in my article. I'm going to try not to name the other ones in my article, but I'll go one player in the article. Joey Gallo.
Joey G.
Joey G.
Give me Conforto.
I like that. Lefty on lefty. That's the one lefty that Conforto has been better against lefties in general, but that's the one lefty that even when he was terrible against lefties, that he had no problem with for some reason is Patrick Corbin. So I like that call. I will go with give me some Jock Peterson.
Like that a lot. And I'll take Anthony Rendon.
Him and Trout had phenomenal profile. I know you said this already, but him and Trout, just to reiterate, they had phenomenal profiles. Really with Manaea, he throws a shit ton of changeups to righties, like a shit ton. Like it was almost 40%. It's just fastball, changeup. We already know these guys can hit fastballs, but the changeup's big when you're facing a lefty, when you're a right-handed batter facing a lefty who throws a lot of them. And Rendon and Trout just popped off the page with changeup. I will go with I'm gonna go with the Diamondback. I'm gonna go with Jake Lamb, who's extremely cheap. I'm pretty sure he's pretty cheap, but he's got the BVIP against John Gray, who, by the way, I'm not judging him too hard. John Gray has had 2 out of his 3 first starts in Coors, and Coors has been doing the dirty. But John Gray's got like a 10% K rate right now for the first 3 games, and his velocity's down. That may have something to do with it, but I thought that was interesting when I saw that. I was like, really? Okay. So maybe there was something. Because remember, they kept sending him down, and we were all like, dude, that's your best pitcher. Why are you fucking with him? Maybe there's something we didn't see, Yeah. But it's coming out right now. I don't see any questions in there. Did we do 3 or did we do 2?
We did 3.
Okay. Holla for $1. Then we're going to get up out of here in that case. You got plenty of time to build your teams. Hopefully NBA goes a little bit better for us as we get some more of this news. Anything in closing, Paulie, before we get up out of here?
Do thy dirty.
That's it, Dirty Burgers. For myself, the entire Wise Take Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.